or this is a project that I'm going to be giving to my grade 6 students. We're in grade 6 and we're doing film music right now, music for the screen. So here we go. Let's take a look at the original, and then I'm going to start kind of from the beginning and bring this in to show you how we do this. So here's the original. And that's pretty funny, isn't it? Chinese. Loud. Okay, so there we go. So let's try to do this from the beginning, just so you see how this works. Okay, I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to open a new project. It's probably going to ask me if I want to save this, and I'll save this as, what do we call this? Chicken wing. I know it's not really chicken wing, but we'll call this chicken 1. Okay, we'll save that. Okay, and then we'll open a new project. Okay, sorry, let's get a new project here. And if I'm looking at the screen, like the instrument selection here on the computer version, right? I get this menu, and I want to hear the sound from the built-in output. You might be using headphones, but anyways, it should be ready to go. We're just going to create something with the MIDI instruments. The first track is just going to be us playing stuff there's nothing there yet, really. The default is your electric piano, okay? And it does give you the keyboard. We'll close that so we open it up again. I'll show you how to get that open in case you need to know. And then what we want to do is we want to get the video into Garageband, and I'm going to go to my files, and we're going to go to that same place, SUS 2019, and it's actually 2020 at this point. I think it says 2019-20. Doesn't matter. Anyways, we're going to music for the screen, and then this track, now this video track, we're just going to drag and drop. Okay, all right, now we'll close this. We don't need that anymore. And you can see that it's added a track. It's actually added something on top of this electric piano track. You might also see that this meter is moving. That's because the microphone automatically sets it so that it'll use the computer microphone to input sound, okay? And this down here is the actual audio track, okay? So I could do a couple of things. I could drop the volume on this track and just not, I could keep it here. And there's a way that we might want to do that, like using some of those sound effects. You could, kind of mix them in. You can also get your sound effects from the internet, or, there's other places where you might want to get some sound effects. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to right-click this, and I'm going to delete this track, okay? And there's regions. It's okay. All right. But what happens is, you know, that I've got the audio up here. Okay, now this down here should still have the audio on it. Oh no, it doesn't. I deleted it. Okay, so this is what we want. Now you've just heard some clicking. By default, you've got the metronome on, so we probably don't want that on just now because we're not really going to be playing to anything. By the way, if you need to add the movie back here, you know, you can go here and you can find the movie in your files. If you remove it, that'll take this off of here. So this is kind of our timeline up here of what's happening in the movie. If we scroll along here, we can kind of, you know, start it and stop it, and we can see, you know, what's going on in the scene here. Okay. If you adjust the tempo, like here, you can slide up and down. It does adjust how many frames you see in one measure, but it doesn't really adjust what happens in those frames. The action still stays the same. It just kind of, the only thing I'm going to adjust here, you know, there may be a point when we want to play something in time, but right now the main thing I'm concerned about is just having some sort of click right when I get started so that I know when to come in. So I'm going to get ready and just, you know, think about some ideas, some musical ideas for this. I think at this beginning part here, there's a lot of tension, right? There's just these two girls sitting and they're going to have this stare down, like who's going to get the piece of chicken, right? And it's there's a lot of tension there, right? And without really thinking too much about, you know, musically, theoretically, what kind of music this, you know, we just want to create some tension. Okay, so I'm going to select some strings over here in the library. We'll get to all these windows and how they may look and how they, you know. And by the way, of course, this is the computer version. We'll be doing an iPad version, so you'll have both. So let's go over here to our library. If this isn't open for any reason, you just click up here at the top left. You've got your library, and then we're going to go to our orchestral sounds. So in the orchestral sounds, we've got some strings, okay, and we want the string ensembles. So I'm just going to use the string ensemble. I'm going to go to the window, and then I'm going to show that musical typing window also. And here we got our little keyboard, and these letters, of course, correspond to the keyboard on your computer. I'm going to bring the volume up just a bit, just 1 second. I'm not sure how loud it is for this video, but hopefully loud enough. And then you've got your gain here, and then you got your master up here, right? And if you're using headphones, it's a lot easier to hear. So I recommend having a good set of headphones, especially if you're a musician. You know, you want to be able to hear things accurately. All right, I'm not going to really think too much about this, but I want to have a chord that creates some tension. So let me just play around and see what I got. And I did do this, of course, before, so I kind of know. I don't think I had that exact chord, but if I play like those 4 notes together, that creates a bit of tension. I could even try maybe 5, you know. It's a bit too much, actually, I think, for my ears. And that's a bit too thin, okay, just these 3 notes. Maybe, you know, when you have notes close together, like that kind of thing, then, you know, note clusters, without really thinking about, you know, you can, you know, if we think about what chord this is, I kind of think of this as, when I have this, if I had the semicolon there, we've got a G and an F, right? Sorry, a G and an E. Where's the F? There it is. Okay, some sort of you know, dominant chord, but with a flat 9 or something. But let's go back, because now we're getting away from what we're really after, which is just to create some sort of sound. And what I think I'm going to do is, instead of just hitting them all at the beginning, bring them in gradually. I'm going to do those ones. I'm going to do G, H, L, and P. Right? And then actually what I'm going to try to do is try to correspond. So there's a couple of things that I noticed when we get into this. First thing that happens is we have this shot here, and then we cut to this shot here. So I want one of the notes to come in there. And then we have the next thing is cut to that shot there. Right? And then we have this little thing where her finger lifts up. We missed it there. There's her little finger. And then, you know, that's one thing that happens. And then the forks come down, right? And then they hold the forks. They're kind of locked in battle. And then fork goes flying to the ceiling. They're going to get to that point right now. This is going to take a good 10 minutes or so to get to that point. So G, H, L, and P is what I said, yeah? Yeah. So I may not hit the note exactly when the action happens, but I can adjust that later. I can edit that. So here we go. I'm just gonna, maybe practice this once. So I'm gonna hit play. It's gonna click me 4 beats. And maybe let's go a little bit slower to like 80 something, 77, and just practice coming in with those notes. And then I'm gonna record. So here we go. I'm not gonna record just yet. I'm gonna hit play for some practice. So it's not gonna give me a count in, unfortunately. So I'll have to jump off the mouse and get to the keyboard. And yeah, it's not. Let me do that again. By the way, when I'm doing this, I don't really use the mouse. I use the computer keyboard, spacebar to start and stop, enter or return to go back to the beginning. All right, so spacebar. There's L, sorry, G, H, L, and then the finger, P. Right. So those are my notes. As I said, if I don't get them exactly when they happen, I can edit this later. So I'm just going to get some sounds in there, and then we'll do some editing. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to hit record, and it'll give me 4 beats to count in. On the keyboard, it's R, which is a little bit annoying when you're using this musical typing thing here, because whenever you hit R, you start recording. At some point, if you get serious with writing music, digital music, you're going to have to get an external keyboard. But anyways, here we go. We're going to do that, and then G, H, L, and P. Here we go. 2, 3, and. All right. Now, what I would probably do normally when I'm writing is just do a bit more writing. In fact, that's what I am going to do before I do any editing at all. I'm going to get something else in there because I know that I'm going to want it. I know that I'm going to want some bass underneath that. And let's just go again. I want to just show you another library, another instrument pack, and that's down here, the Legacy. In the Logic section, you've got your orchestral sounds. What is it? Pop strings. For some reason, it's called pop strings, and you've also got textures and sound effects. We'll get into that maybe a little bit afterwards. Now I got to go back and scroll. But we want the string section. Okay, we're not actually playing pop music here. Sometimes the names of these instruments have nothing to do with what you're using them for. I want some bass notes. Okay, so on my keyboard here, I'm going to be already kind of like looking down here on the keyboard. This part probably not bass, right? Down here is kind of where the bass part would be. So that's a bit low. That's kind of okay. That's probably what I want. Okay, so that low C is what I'm playing. And I don't really know if I'm in the key of C. I guess I'm in some sort of G chord, and we can call it a G flat 9 something over a C. Let's listen to the C underneath. Yeah. Yeah, it works. Works really well, I think, so far. All right, so that's what I want. I want that tension, right? I want to feel that tension building up. So I'm going to record that note, just that one note on this track, okay? Here we go. 2, here we go, and. Okay, now you might have noticed as this was recording, nothing was showing up down here. That's because the computer needs time to process what's happening. It needs time to think and decide, what it wants to do. All right, so and let's just listen to that a little bit. Okay, right away, we're going to have to bring the bass down. It's too loud, so let's bring that down here, and let's actually, okay, let's just listen to it, and then I'll talk to you about editing. By the way, if I stop this, and then I start like right here in the middle of the track, these notes won't sound like anything because you have to start them at the beginning. This whole thing is just one note, so that's what's kind of strange about this. Okay, so there's some good things here. There's some timing things. there's no real next thing. There's a lot of things that we can do. There's working on the volume levels. We can do some automation with this and some fading in, some building up the volume, right? I don't want to close. I want to be careful not to close this thing, because then I have to, just have to go and find it again and open it. So I'll minimize this time, kind of make it smaller. And then what I'm going to do is go down here to the editing window, which is the scissors. Okay, the scissors. And then in the scissors, you've got a couple of views. You've got one which is the actual score, and this is kind of just reference. You can't really print these scores. You can print them out, and they don't look very, very good. They don't look very standard. So I want this piano roll. And the first thing I want to make sure is that I don't have. Sometimes you have this thing. Okay, this happens a lot, especially with strings, where the beginning of the note is like you can't really. Okay, I can't move it there. But if you happen to start the note before beat 1, before the very beginning, you won't hear it, and then you have to pull the note in. Okay, you have to pull it in so it's inside of the measure. For some reason, it's one of those things. There might be a shortcut to fix that, but I just grab the note and I pull it in. So that one is okay. And think in terms of the timing, like we just need to get some. It's probably at the end, but in terms of like what we're looking to do here, these ones. Now, I'm going to start using the video here a little bit to kind of line up what I want to happen where. But what I'm concerned with now is using this timeline up here, the video timeline, to line up with my entries, just the entry of the note. Forgetting about like the volume and all that. We just want the entry to be correct. So this is my next note. What happens? I'm having a little bit of trouble scrolling, sorry. Yeah, so that looks like it does actually line up, as far as I can tell, right when the camera changes to her face, okay? Then we're going to go along, and here seems to be pretty well lined up. I didn't really think that I played it that accurately, but, sometimes it just, you do better than you think you do. That one's kind of hard to tell. Let's go back and see. So let's see the finger. I want this to be like right when it goes to the finger up. Yeah, it's hard to... What I'm going to do, actually... see if I can try this one more time. Scroll, scroll, scroll. I don't know. It's not really going. I think maybe let's make this a little bit bigger. It may not make a difference. Let's go back and take a look. Okay, finger. I think what I'm going to do is pull the time on this thing back a little bit. So then I think I see more clarity. And there's our thing. Where are we? We're here with the finger, aren't we? All right. This is getting a little bit. Well, we want it there. Okay, so down here, that's the point where the finger is going to lift up. Okay, so we want this top note. There, yeah, right there. Okay. Now, you also notice maybe that I just move the note. You can actually move these notes around. Okay, you can do a lot of things with them. You can right-click on them and you can copy them and move them. Paste them somewhere else. You can work on the articulation here. I mean, this is kind of very detailed stuff, which you could fool around with. I'm not going to get into it right now because, we just want to get the basics down. But anyways, let's just take a listen to what we've got so far, and we'll work on the ending of these two tracks and then the next thing that happens. So here we go. I noticed the finger was okay, I think, but I noticed that actually, let's pull the timeline here. So we want this note, the second note. It's not as accurate as I thought it was. One of the things is that if you're looking up here, right, and the work window here, it's not really as detailed as it is down here. When you're down here in the edit window, especially on the piano roll, you see every measure divided. These are 16th notes. Okay, what would be 16th notes? We don't really have a tempo. But that way you can see every subdivision of the beat. So this is the point where the next note should start. So we're going to pull this one back. Right. Kind of take a look and see right there. All right, and then go along. That's the next note, and let's move along here. And then the next thing we want is that part right there. Okay, so that's where this note should be. Okay. And then we move along, and let's see what we got. So we got going around the back of her. I'm going to pull this over a little bit. Okay, so we got that. All right, now we got the finger. Okay, go to the finger and then up, and that is kind of where we are with that note. All right, so I think we're good so far with just the action involved. We're going to look at editing some more over the sound, and then what happens like with the ending of this thing. So this part here, okay, now we haven't quite touched forks, but let's get to that point. Yeah, right there. So let's just move back. So here, right there, that's where all these sounds should be. I mean, that's where something else should happen, right? What's going to happen there? Well, I mean, this is where, you get to be creative, and you get to kind of just, you get to mess around and look at all the sounds and choose what you like. But I'm going to keep this kind of to like a set idea. The set idea is that something else happens. I mean, maybe the strings, maybe they would continue through that, like there's no reason why they couldn't. But what I'll probably do is add a couple of different things at that point, right at that point. Okay, I'm going to add a couple of different tracks. So that should be kind of the end of these two tracks. So what I'm going to do is go and pull the remainder of this, which doesn't have anything, back. Okay, that way you just kind of keep my ideas. You could overlap an idea on top of that. If there was an idea that had sound on it, you could lay that right over, and it would give preference to the one that had sound. Anyways. Let's take a listen to that. Let's, always got to go back and listen to what you worked on. So. It's okay. It's okay. All right, now, okay, let's add some different things there. So right at that point, we're going to move this over here. I like to keep, by the way, once I'm working this way, I usually don't use the musical typing thing. I usually plug my keyboard in, just because it's easier to, just hit the keys, and, they're touch sensitive and that kind of thing. But it's fine, for this kind of project, you can use the musical typing. Let's add a track. Let's add something that gives us some more, real tension there. This is like, we're now, the battle's on, right? So this is like, engaged. The battle has now begun real. I think what I'm going to try to do here, and, to be completely honest, I mean, to know what's in all of these instrument packs it would take quite a long time. You get the general idea that there's some organs, some pianos, right? There's some world sounds, some guitars, and GarageBand's very good for creating rock music, like it's kind of, GarageBand, if you know what that means. It means that, like bands that didn't have anywhere to rehearse, or maybe they had, they would get together at friends' houses, at band members' houses, and practice in the garage. Okay, that's kind of like how a lot of rock bands started out. Let's go to the legacy and to the Logic sounds. Let's see if we can go to some synthesizers. And I really, to be honest, I'm just completely guessing. Okay, what do Logic instruments sound like? Maybe, maybe we have something in here. I'm just going by the names. I don't see anything in the names that I particularly want to chase down. I want to maybe go to drum kits. Maybe, I probably should have planned something out. But I also kind of like to do this thing with composing with GarageBand, where this is fun, like the exploration. You're free to go and just check things out. So, let's go to some warped voices. I don't have anything better to do at this point. So, again, like, what do these names mean? I have no idea. I'm just going to go to ugly effect vocals and see what happens. Now, I got my... Wow. Okay. Maybe not that one. Maybe not that one. Let's go to something like Synthy Bell Glass. That sounds like it could be... Yeah, that sounds like it could be good. At least for part of it. So maybe pull this up to the higher register. So what happens now if we do like a few of these notes together? Maybe let's do the D, the G, maybe the Y, and the L and the... let's use this, but then I think we're going to need something a little bit with a little bit more impact to dress it up. Okay. So, anyways, and this is just for demonstration purposes. I think, you know, I could find probably something better if I wanted to spend another 5 minutes or so. But here we go. We're just going to leave the cursor right here, and when I hit record, it's going to move. It's going to jump back a little bit, and then I'm going to get ready to record. So, and I'm going to try to do it right on that point, but if I don't, I can edit it again. Here we go. 2, 3, and okay. Now I did something that you probably don't want to do, and that is like, you know, cover up the actual window. But of course I've done this before, and I know that if I didn't nail it, I can, you know, I can go back and edit it down in the edit window. In fact, we're going to get that open just so we can use that to work with. Okay, so I mean, let's take a look even before we play it, what it looks like, you know, because we can kind of use our eyes for a lot of this stuff. Here is coming in. Sorry, here's coming in. All right, so the point where they actually hit forks is like right. Can we actually see it? Let's move down here. Yeah, like right here. So I can see that, you know, it's not bad, but it's really a little bit too early. So this is a really loud patch. Definitely gonna have to bring the volume down on this, okay? So let's tighten that up a little bit. All right, before I do anything, it's, you know, there's that kind of level thing. It's kind of bothering my ears. So let's get back, and we're not going to hear the sounds that are already playing. We'll hear this top note here. All right, not bad, I think. A lot of echo on this one. Maybe from the beginning, here's what we have. Let's bring this over here and kind of follow along. Let's see what we got. All right, and that goes, I think, let's pull down here and see. We want this to end kind of like when this, because this next thing, we definitely want, you know, I think I want to get some sort of sound when the fork hits the ceiling, okay? So that's kind of as long as that needs to be. Now, I think we need to have one more little sound along with that, something percussive, something with some impact. So let's go back and let's look at maybe some electronic drum kits. I don't know. What happens if we go to, like, I don't know, Major Crush? Let's see what happens if we hit that one. Some of these crazy drum machine sounds. Yeah, not really. That could work actually, but what I'm looking for is something with a, you know, big crash sound, like a heavy, like a very. No, that's too high for this thing. Too high for this thing, probably. Don't know. We're not getting anything on the. Yeah. Maybe this. Maybe something like that. Okay, and maybe a couple of them together. I like the F, because that has that impact. Whoops. You know what, I just pressed R by accident. I'm not quite ready to record, so let me go back and check the sounds. We got, maybe not that. Maybe the F and the U. Oh yeah, that one. So I think these sounds, I got the D, which is a click. Okay, F, that kind of puffy, and that J. Okay, those three notes I like. Okay, again, I'm not thinking like a musician. You know, what notes of the staff am I on? This kind of composing means that you just get to be creative. You get to use your ears, and you get to just flow. Right. The goal is to be in sync. Like I'm working on my timing, right, and I'm working on kind of like textures and ideas. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to try to line it up. I'm going to record this track, and hopefully I can nail it like right there when it happens. Let's get the video up here, and then if it doesn't though, I'll move it later. Okay, so here we go. We're going to record. What do we got? F. We got D, F, and J all at once. Here we go. 2. Okay, we're not really counting. And then I was really early on that. It's okay. So now we need to jump down down to here. We know that they need, I'll move this one just to there, just to kind of start off with. And then let's jump down here and see how things look. Okay, so let's pull this back. Let's get our video closer. Okay, so if we're here, at the beginning of these notes, you know, it's a little bit early actually, and I might be a little bit early with the other one. So let's just pull it. You know, I'm being kind of detail oriented here, but you know, to try to make it come alive, the idea is that the sound illustrates the action. You know, it actually tells people like this is what this action sounds like. You know, it could sound like, right? And as you heard in the original track, right, there's some guzheng in there, or pipa maybe. You know, so it feeds the idea that, you know, this is obviously Chinese family or maybe sisters, maybe friends. This is a loud patch. We're going to work on the volume and all that stuff in just a second. Let's listen to what we've got from the beginning. Now. Okay, and then there, like, you know, we're going to do something with that. I mean, obviously, I think you can guess, like, the next thing is to try to find a sound that goes with the fork hitting the ceiling. But let's look at another thing that we could do before we move on to that. You know, all this stuff probably should be kind of like right inside the... there we go. So we kind of got these as our 4 things to work with. One thing that I think would be good, let's do this one. Let's do the bass. Is to work on what's called automation. Okay, and there's a few ways to access this. You can go to the window, what is it? The track, or sorry, I don't do it this way, so I'm kind of guessing because I just use the letter A on the keyboard. Okay, mix, show, automation. Okay, and you can see that it's just letter A. It's a lot easier. And what's going to happen is there's going to be a little tab that shows up here. So here's letter A. Whoops, that should hit here. Maybe not. I don't know why. Oh, you got to hit on the actual track and then letter A. Maybe it's because this is open. Yeah. So that musical typing thing takes preference over anything else you want to do. You got to close that and then hit A, and you've got, okay, it's actually not up here, but it's here. This is the automation thing. This is on. This is off, and the default one is volume. Okay, so the track itself has a volume level right now, and you can see that it's this yellow line. I can drag it up and down. You can see that the slider, the fader, goes back and forth. It was about right here. But what I'm going to try to do is these little points, I'm going to drop a point here, okay, and this is my beginning volume, and I'm going to pull this one down, and this is my ending volume. And I can move these back and forth, okay. They could be here, but I'm going to try to do this thing where the volume builds up gradually all the way through. So let's just listen to that. And actually what I'm going to do also is just highlight the bass sound, pressing on the headphone button, and just hear the bass sound. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, I get the idea. It's going to get louder. Maybe one louder. Okay. And, you know, and I think that's fine. I'm not going to listen to it together until I do something else. Because what I was hearing when I was listening to it is that it was covering up these strings. It sounded too loud. Like, you wouldn't hear that basses that loud. Well, you should, because I'm a bass player. It'd be awesome if you heard basses that played that loudly in an orchestra. But that would cover up all the other strings. So we don't want to do that. We want them to be underneath. But we do want the strings, you know, to be on top. And, you know, maybe we want them to get even louder too. So if this comes up that loud, you know, then this should come up. So let's listen to it all together. And actually, you know, even there, I mean, it sounds like the strings aren't quite as loud as it's okay actually. I mean, we can have just the bass, but we want to make sure. And this might be a bit too loud. It might push the. Yeah, it's really too loud. Maybe. If you see too much red here, that means it's too loud. It's okay. All right. And to my ears, like, these things aren't perfectly lined up, but that's, you know, that's minor. one of the reasons why this isn't that loud, let's look at another thing that we it's not quite as important as the volume. I mean, it's something to know. Let's go to the edit window down here. We can actually make this a little bit bigger. And if we select, okay, this string section, and we probably don't need that there. This one, the string ensemble, okay. Oh, I know why. Yeah, because here's why. It's a good example of what I was talking about. We weren't even hearing this note, okay, because it's off the grid, right? So here, it wasn't even being played. I thought it was just the basses were too loud, but it wasn't even being played. So now you hear it. So you get the idea. Now I'm playing this on the keyboard, you know, the computer keyboard, and I don't really, it doesn't really have touch sensitivity. Okay, if you're playing on an external keyboard, an external MIDI keyboard, then you've got some touch sensitivity, and you can make these notes louder or softer. The default velocity seems to be, you know, 93. That's the force with which you hit the note. Okay, but if I wanted to, you know, like this one, which is highlighted, I can actually bring that up, you know, to full velocity, which is 127. And you see this little bar in the middle of the note. Okay, so thank you. You know, which shows you kind of like the velocity level. Sorry, I'm just going to get these inside the. So if you don't have a external keyboard at home, you can actually play around with this a bit and just kind of think about, you know, which ones would if I were to play this as a chord, if an orchestra were to play this as a chord, which parts would have the most velocity, come in the hardest. I think the top part, you know, the top part would be that part where like finally you get that top note and you want to just like bring it on, you know. So put that right up to 127, maybe even like 100 for that one, maybe 93 for that one, and then maybe this one. Maybe a little bit lower. All right, so now we got a little bit softer, a little harder. So here we go. Oh, and the velocity for this one is 73. I guess that's because it's bass, you know, it's going to be softer, but here we go. Oh no, that's our bottom note of the chord. Okay, now let's talk about another effect that you might want to use, and one that I use kind of on all of my recordings, you know, when I'm doing like things that should sound live, and that's reverb. And on this one, this crate digger sound, there isn't any, not that I can hear. I mean, maybe there's a little bit, but actually, let's listen to it. Let's solo that one, and then just listen to what that sounds like, unaltered. Yeah, there is a little bit at the beginning, but I want this thing to really echo. I want this to be like, you know, like go over and over. So we could do, you know, both of these, echo and reverb. They have similar functions, slightly different. Echo is the actual sound, echoing. Reverb kind of emulates the type of room that you're in, you know, if you're in a church or if you're in a, you know, gymnasium or something. So let's get a little bit of reverb on there. There's nothing, so let's get some. All right, and then let's just bring it up to kind of like there and see what happens. Yeah, it's a little bit better, all right, but I'm going to go and do the echo thing, okay, and just kind of play with that a bit, get the echo up in here. All right, so there's some echo. All right, I think that's going to do what I want it to do. Let's take a listen with kind of everything at that point. Yeah, and I think maybe this one needs like a little bit more reverb on it and probably some stuff, you know, we can kind of just play around at this point, you know, just see what happens. Yeah, and you know, this may not be the sound you want. I mean, this is just me guessing, but you know, there's other things, like if you had headphones on, you could use the pan, like the back and forth, left and right kind of thing. You know, it's pretty fun to play with that. If you're, you know, you have to kind of like use headphones for it to actually have the effect. You've got some interesting plugins down here. These things that you would have to, you know, go out and buy for, you know, like some of these Space D, you know, like reverb modules. You know, I mean, you can go on and on and on with this stuff. You can buy plugins. So, and if you're doing that kind of stuff, you probably wouldn't be doing GarageBand in the first place. You'd probably be using Logic or something. But all right, I think we're just, you know, you get the idea. I'm going to use the volume one quickly because I do, you know, I don't know. I think there probably should be some screeching violins here or something at, you know, just to kind of highlight the action. But let's leave that for now and get something there. Okay, we're going to do one last thing before I close this out and leave you guys to it. I'm going to create one more track, and for some reason it dropped it right there. I kind of like to keep them in the order in which they're created, so you can drag them around. Now, fork on the ceiling. Geez, maybe. See, this is what's interesting. These instruments change frequently too as Apple updates these versions of GarageBand. I have never seen Coffee Shop before. Let me get my musical typing up here. So what do we got for? Well, we've got nothing because we didn't go. Oh, you know what we just did? Okay, I'm going to show you a quick function. Some of you might have picked this up. I changed the sound of the previous instrument. I didn't really want to do that, and I don't want to, you know, like go to the there's a couple things I can do. I can do undo. It's Command Z, right? So I'm going to do that. Command Z, and then it's back to there. I want to change this instrument. Okay, I don't want to change the name of it. You could, okay, you could change the name of it, but I don't have any reason to do that. So what do we got? We got percussion, and we got our coffee shop, and then it looks like we got some shakers and some stuff. Let's get our window, the musical typing. Okay, and let's just see. Okay, probably too low, probably too high on the keyboard for these sounds. I'm guessing. I haven't played them yet. Yeah, we're actually too low. So is there anything in here that sounds, could be maybe a funny sound, like if it was the fork hitting the ceiling and you just had that, it might be kind of one of those comical, obviously it's funny anyways, this whole scene, but that's an interesting sound. I'm not sure that fits this action, but maybe later on. So if I were, you know, if I were doing this, let me show you another thing. I would open up the notepad, okay? And what I would write down there, because I want to keep that sound in mind, I would go, I think we're in percussion, because that's closed now. I opened this up and then this thing closes, but percussion, and then we got coffee shop. How do you spell coffee? My favorite thing in the world, I can't spell it. Coffee shop, and then K, all right? And then my notes tell me, and let me close that for a second, just make sure that I'm talking about the right thing here. We are in percussion, yeah, percussion coffee shop, and then the letter K as a chimey kind of thing. All right, but let's get this done. I don't know that we're going to find anything in coffee shop. Let's try just another couple of, let's look at some performance patches. Well, these look like very traditional instruments that maybe wouldn't quite fit. We want something like sort of sound effecty, yeah? Ideally, right, I would want that that kind of sound, that, cartoon sound. And what I could do, this is a possibility, is I could find that sound somewhere online. Like I could go to YouTube and download something from YouTube and then do the same thing, bring the video in here and detach the audio and then save that audio as an MP3. And then I could go to my media in here. And in my media, I could drag something that's in my library into GarageBand. That's a possibility, right? And I think that's a kind of, that's kind of a fun thing to do. I could also go and let's look over here also, the loops. In the loops, right, you've got a lot of samples here of sounds, some of which might work, some of which may not. You can kind of filter by instrument here if we got percussion, but these are actual loops, so they're going to go on for a bit. This is eight beats is what it is. Okay, but actually I'm going to use one of these because I want to show you what you can do with it. Let's say we want that sound, just to kind of save some time here, okay? I'm going to drag it, the African Udu drum #1, not an audio track. Yeah. So I'm gonna change gears just a little bit because it can't go on that track. In fact, what I'm gonna do is just delete this track for now. Okay, just get rid of it. Right click, delete track. Don't really need it. It's kind of taking up space. And this isn't really what I want. I don't want like that whole thing. I just want the beginning of it. Okay, I just want the very beginning of it. So let's get rid of this. Okay, let's get rid of this. And let's go to the edit window down here, and let's just look at it from here, not from the beginning. So I want just one or two of these things. Maybe let's just do these two first ones, like just that much, okay? Now I'm going to click up here on the sound itself, okay, and I'm going to do right click, split at playhead. I could do Command T, of course, if I wanted to. And then I'm just going to get rid of this, just delete it, okay? Now this part here, let's get the cursor back and see if that actually is, first of all, the timing, not quite. We want it like right there, like right there. Okay, so let's, whoops, we got right there. Okay, so then let's see if we can, and if, by the way, let me show you another function that might help things. If this is too small, obviously it's pretty small, we can expand this a little bit by pulling it over. Okay, and now I can view it more accurately, just slide it right there. Okay, now it's not really what I want yet. I'm gonna play with this sound, but let's just see if it lines up. Yeah, you know what? I don't even want that second hit. It doesn't really work. It doesn't do anything. So let's just see if we can get rid of it. Okay, right there. That's all we want. Just that one hit now. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go here and get some echo on it. Right, you know, like that. We're definitely gonna make the level higher. So we're gonna go to the volume, and it's gonna be really loud. Okay, we're going to do some other stuff with it. Let's go to the ambiance, and ambiance means like, you know, like the color of the sound. Let's go to that echo thing. Did we do that one? We did that one. Didn't do reverb. Okay. And we're going to, you know, do this plus one other sound, I think, and that's going to be it. Yeah, so there's the echo. You know, it doesn't, the echo is not going to, it's not going to really be necessary. Let's get that off. Because we only want to hear it once, right? This is going to be like, okay. So we've got that. Let's drop this down a little bit. And let's do one final little thing. And I'm not sure that this is really going to add too much. I mean, it's, you know, let's take it from back here. Let's go from back here. Well, we got this. Yeah. So let's get an instrument that has some pitch on there and leave it at that. What do you think? I wish I could get some feedback, because trying to do this on my own at this point, you know, it's like, God, I don't know. Let's try some flutes. Flutes. Who doesn't love flute? My mom's a flute player, and unfortunately can't go to rehearsal or anything because of the situation right now. But I mean, the flute can be a very beautiful instrument, but it can also be kind of harsh. So, you know, whoops, I just did something, but maybe not so much. Maybe that, maybe down just one octave on the keyboard. But let's get some clashy stuff in here. This is actually where, maybe not. Maybe this is actually where not knowing about music is kind of an advantage, because you're just gonna use your ears. Yeah, and you're just going to say, ah, I want to hear that sound right there, all right? And that's what we want. We want the SG and the Y. That's nice and clashy. No idea what chord I'm playing. Some sort of D flat, you know, 5, whatever. So here we go. We're going to record and leave, and then we'll be done. All right, and let's jump down, get rid of this, edit this a little bit, edit window, okay, down here, and let's see what we got with our, get this off of here, the cursor. Does this hit at the right time? Kind of, yeah, seems like it. Seems like it's pretty close. Yeah, so let's pull this off, get this to the beginning. And let's just kind of see down here if this lines up with this. So what do we got? This starts at 6.2.3.121. That's actually 6 seconds, 2/10, 300ths, and what is that? 121 thousandths. This one, we're going to maybe pull this out just a little bit. It's not going to give us quite as accurate reading. I'm not sure exactly why. If we do it this way, we can see. So 6.2.3.69. We want 0.2. What do we want? 6.2.3. 0.121. If we want to be really exact, I'm sure nobody's going to notice the difference, but we want, that's probably fine right there. Okay. That one's actually exactly 121. 106, 109, 112. Why not? Let's just be exact with it. Okay, 121. Although they don't seem like they lined up. So these two are lined up, and this one's not. Oh, there it is, 121. Okay, so there we go. We're at 121, all of them. It should be like right on it now. Whether it's with the fork or not, that's another question. Like we don't, we're kind of using our eyes here. If we were actual, yeah. So it's like we're a little bit early, I think, like a couple thousandths of a second. So if we wanted to be really exact, we could be. We could just pull all this right over here now. Whoops, not quite. Let's go right back here, and there's our fork on the ceiling, and then we got to go up here, pull that back, and then this one, same thing. So now we're gonna see what this sounds like all together. Don't know about the level or anything on the flute. Just gonna kind of go with it. Let's close this. Yeah, okay. Now, I love that expression on her face. She just got sneaked, we're gonna, this is the process. I don't want to do the whole thing because obviously this is just the way how to do it. Your ideas are your ideas, okay? And for the assignment that you're going to do, you're going to be doing it kind of, more. You're going to go all the way through 2 minutes. So we've only done 24 seconds. We've done about 1/4 of it just now. You can be as detailed as you'd like. Obviously the point right now is just to get some sounds that line up with the action, okay, and to try to get things so that they correlate to some degree. We haven't really talked about, like, there in the original one there is a theme, right? There's a little bit of a theme. There's some percussion. It's great if we can get some theme music into this thing, but for now our goal is really just to get some things to line up and to be able to use the software so we understand some of these functions. All right, now the other thing is to save this. I mean, it'll automatically save when you close GarageBand. Like if I want to open a new project, for example, I can save or save as, do all these things. Let's do that right now here. Actually, let's do, this is going to be Chicken 2, I think. Chicken 2. And it's going to save into my music folder, okay? How to find it on your computer can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge. But anyways, that's not the focus for right now. So we've got that saved. The other thing that you might want to do, though, is share this as a MP3. So if I share this, well, I can do a couple things. If I share this as an MP3, like it'll just be default, right? And it can export this, and it'll find, it's doing it right now, actually. I didn't really want to do that, but it's going through all the stuff that I just recorded, and now somewhere in my computer I've got an MP3 of this music, okay? And, if you wanted to do something like an iMovie later on, you can bring this in, and you can bring your music in there. You can't compose music in iMovie, so that's why, you're doing it here. Like, a lot of students think, well, why don't I just do this in iMovie, because I can edit this video, I can chop it up if I want to, and yeah, sure, but you can't compose music in iMovie. Okay? That's it, guys. I know this is kind of a long one. I want to do one for the iPad also. It's a little bit more tricky on the iPad. But for the those of you who have MacBook, any sort of Mac system, desktop system, you can get started on using GarageBand this way. All right, and let me know what you think. Let me know what you discover. As always, on Edmodo, if you have questions, you can send me a message. All right, and I'll be happy to respond to you privately. Okay, that's it, and I'll see